Welcome to your community of fee-for-service financial advisors who are successfully building profitable firms that serve the next generation of clients. You'll learn from innovative advisors whose unique stories will inspire you to dream big and take action on your goals. Are you ready to live your great life and help clients live theirs? Then you're in the right place.
Hello, everyone. I am Maddy Roche, host of XYPN Radio. I'm excited to return to XYPN Radio after nearly a 2-year hiatus to bring my energy and perspective to the conversations that we have with our incredible guests. Today, I'm excited to have XYPN member Jennifer Kang, founder of JWK Financial, an RIA out of New York City, on the show. Jennifer spent nearly 2 decades working at a large wirehouse and broker-dealer and learned a lot along the way that has paid off big time when it comes to the firm that she opened in the summer of 2022. You'll hear Jennifer talk about how the service discrepancies she witnessed managing a book of business with varying asset sizes while at the BD became the foundation for her fee-only, flat-fee approach that she takes with her clients today. Jennifer shows us what's under the hood of her firm during this episode, discussing her prospecting process, her marketing investments, and how she moves clients from her initial engagement of $2,250 into ongoing relationships at a $9,600 flat rate fee. What struck me most about this interview, and what I think you'll take away most from her, is Jennifer's confidence in the value that she provides to her clients. As many of you know, asking for business is hard, and it is scary. But today you'll hear Jennifer talk about how she abundantly encourages her prospects to interview other advisors, and how by taking only the clients she works with at the pace that gives her flexibility, she has time to reinvest into her existing clients, and that makes her referability inevitable. Jennifer's advice is sage, and it maps so well to what we coach and teach here at XYPN that this episode is a can't miss. Thank you, Jennifer, for your time and for your service to this community. Listeners, I hope you enjoyed this show. Hello, Jennifer. Welcome to XYPN Radio. It is so nice to see you today.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you on. We've got a lot to cover. You have had an awesome run through this industry, through your career, and have built some pretty impressive things at your firm already. And I'm excited to share your story with our listeners. So, Jennifer, if you wouldn't mind, would you just give us a high-level intro to yourself and your firm?
Yeah, thanks. I have, as you said, been in the industry for about almost 2 decades now. I started at a high broker dealer out in Honolulu, in Hawaii, and was on a team in Los Angeles, and ended up making my move back to Hawaii and then to New York City. So I kind of done a little bit of back and forth within. My broker dealer back in Hollywood. When did I start? In 2006. And so it's been quite the ride. And in 2022, I decided to leave corporate and start my own flat fee only firm.
Hey, that is awesome. And that is when you joined XYPN and we became introduced, which was so wonderful.
Yep.
Jennifer, not everyone just jumps from a great career into entrepreneurship. And I'm wondering, what was on the other side of entrepreneurship that wasn't available at the broker-dealer?
Yeah. This business was really made for me to help with my friends, right? Like I really wanted to create a space where I can help and serve my peers and those around me. And I always felt like at Wirehouse, you always had minimums or the fees were too high and it just never made sense. And I was always trying to figure out, like, I wonder how this could ever work. And I decided to create a space where I could charge just a flat fee, not assets under management, which is what typically advisors do, and it be that everybody gets the same treatment no matter what. Right. And I really wanted to be able to have that type of company. And I created JWK Financial to really serve first generation working professionals and help them like just build their wealth and help them achieve their financial success. So
Oh, wonderful. Can you give us a little insight into how many clients you serve and how long it's taken you to get there?
Yeah, so I officially launched in June of 22, and I've been pretty slow and steady in my growth. I currently have 15 clients with a capacity of 30, so I'm about halfway there. And it's been about a client a month, give or take, right? And I think that that's been the cadence that I've been most comfortable with, I would say.
Mhm.
I do really enjoy giving clients the treatment and the extra care that they really need, right? Especially in the onboarding season and that time. And so I've been mindful about giving space for that.
Oh, I love that. And that really follows kind of the trajectory that we see play out through the benchmarking survey is that new firms that are niched can expect anywhere between 1 and 1.5 clients per month. And you seem to have hit that almost perfectly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's very humbling and like, wow, thanks. But yes, I guess so.
Yeah, nice work. Um, I heard you mention a couple different things as you were talking through your experience at the broker dealer, just around equality of service with clients. Can you expand a bit on that? What does that mean to you?
Yeah. So when you charge clients assets under management, the bigger the amount, then the higher the fee that they pay you. And so you typically, I mean, we're all human. So you typically will give treatment or better treatment or extra treatment to those clients who are paying you more.
Mm,
And and then those clients who aren't paying you as much don't get the full attention that one should get. And I really saw the discrepancy in that and felt, a little uneasy is probably to say the least. And so I wanted to create something that was fair.
mm,
And I really felt like the flat fee, really helped me to just let clients know that I am on your side of this table, right? Like when I give advice, a lot of it is based on what's best for you, regardless of what I get, because I don't get anything outside of the fee that you pay me.
mm.
And so that was something that wasn't really readily available for me at the broker dealer. Um, and so, yeah, I really do believe that everybody should get the same amount of service, regardless of how much money you have. And not one client should ever destroy your business.
Thank you for that. What great advice. And I just appreciate your transparency there. And what you said at the end that one person can't destroy your business. I think that's a really good reminder to our listeners is that you can end up having a client who represents 25, 30% of your revenue. And just listening to Jennifer talk about what that does to our human instincts around service does sound compromising.
Yep. Yep, it really is. And the reality is that we're human and it's not like you go into it thinking that this is what you wanted. But when you create a space where that can happen, um I'm no but I'm fully susceptible, right? To those types of temptations or feeling
Mhm.
some kind of way about that. And so, how do you then create a space that is fair? How do you then create a space that is where I know that the client next to your calendar is going to get the same type of treatment and advice and attention than I am. Yeah, I think that really resonates a lot to me. And I really wanted to do that. And I really wanted to have a place where like my friends could be clients. That was really the whole purpose of JWK of like, I really enjoy working with my peers. I really enjoy working with people that are in the same spaces I'm in, life phase that I'm in. And how do I start to serve them wholeheartedly? How do I take everything that I've learned from corporate and give it back to the people who don't necessarily get all the attention that they should be getting? And that's like the reason and where the birth of JWK came from.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Jennifer. Just to get a little bit more into the details, what do you charge? And then how do you handle investments for the typical assets under management?
Yeah, so I will say that I did for this year. I did raise my fee, and so I implemented a initial assessment. So all of my clients will typically go through an initial assessment, and that initial assessment is 2250, and that comprises of me kind of doing a whole deep dive. You'll go through the initial onboarding process. You'll kind of share with me what your priorities are, and then I come back and I give you a one-page financial plan, action items, your goals, and then a net worth statement. You and that in and of itself, that's like a 3 meeting back and forth process. Will take
Mm.
anywhere between 3 weeks to a month, just depending on timing. And that really gives me a very good idea of whether or not if it makes sense for you to be an ongoing client. If it makes sense for you and I to work together. I think a lot of this is like you're interviewing me, I'm interviewing you. This is a good pre-trial dating time, and you still walk away with something that's very valuable because I do give you concrete action items on what you should do. After that, the comprehensive financial planning is set at 9,600 for a year, and it's an annual fee. And I do ask my clients for an annual commitment,
Great.
and they pay that fee on a monthly basis. Everything is paid in arrears, and so all of the work is usually done, and then I ask for payment. But that then we go through a whole, all the steps of financial planning, and we'll deep dive into every financial planning topic, um, from cash flow budgeting, insurance, debt management, employer benefits, estate planning, tax planning, and then lastly, investments. I do use a TAMP for my
Mm.
investments, and I don't get any payment. The TAMP does. I use First Ascent, and they too have a flat fee, which is in line with what I believe for my business. And yeah, that's kind of a lot of it is asset allocation. And I always tell clients, like, if you're looking to, you know, find the best stock, that's just not where I'm at. But if you want something that's slow and steady and that's going to help you build your wealth in the long term, then this is what we'll do. You do not need to invest with me, but should you want to, then I have a service that is available for you.
Great.
Yeah, so I feel like that's kind of the pricing and just the process.
Yeah, super helpful. Thank you for painting that picture. What stood out to me among many things of what you just said was that you feel like you're also interviewing the client. And what a
Yeah,
powerful position to be in as an entrepreneur to say confidently that you are interviewing those clients. We try to coach on that a lot, get people in that headspace of this is not a one-way street into your firm just for any client, that you do want to be protective.
right.
Did you come into this with that attitude or did you develop it? And kind of a second portion of that question of what are you interviewing for? What are you looking for?
Yeah, it's so funny because I think that I came into this space with a complete different environment, right? In the wirehouse broker dealer space, you kind of take what you can get, and I realized that that was so not in line with my life motto. Like, I really believe that you come from a place from a space of abundance, right? And so people who are friendly and are very loving are people who are loved, and that's why they can give it, right? And I think in the same way, I want to work with a type of client who want to be there, right? I don't ever want clients to feel like, oh yeah, I got bamboozled, or I don't know, they just kept on calling, or and
Mhm.
that is never the intention. And so I that's yeah, I kind of came from that space of being like, okay, I'm gonna, yes, I always will want to help you, but do you want to genuinely be helped? And it's amazing how, like, people say that they are in the moment and then that changes. And that's fine, because if I can learn that about you early on, then I can give you some tips, and then we could go our separate ways, right? Um, and then the second part to your question, I'm sorry, could you repeat your second part again?
Yeah, what are you looking for out of these
Oh,
clients?
so I also learned that you attract the kind of people that you are, right?
Mm.
You are, if you want to be good, if you want to have good friends, you have to be a good friend. And if you want to be a good planner with good clients, like that's what you got to be looking for. Right. And so I think a big part of this that helped me was I made it part of the XY journey was really, really figuring out who your avatar was or is. And I really did a lot of pre-work and just kind of figuring out, okay, who is my avatar? What are the type of clients that I really want to work with? And being able to stick to that. And that's hard, right? And I think that that's really hard, especially in your early years, early months, right? I would say for me, uh, it's really hard to be able to say no. And I think that what I'm always looking for is, do you fit that person, that profile that I want to work with, that I enjoy working with, that I can give my best self to? Can I do retirement planning? Sure. But is that me giving my best self to? No. Why? Because I want to work with, working professionals who are trying to build their wealth. Like we're in a different landscape than somebody who's in retirement trying to, how do I make this money last for me? And I think that most of my work experience has been on retirement planning and kind of keeping that and how to make that money work for them for the long haul. But I really want to work with people who are still in that accumulation phase. How can I, you know, take advantage of all of the resources that I have? And a big thing that I always tell people is, I don't really care so much about how much you make, more so than about how much you can save, right? And because I genuinely believe that wealth building is about consistency and lifestyle savings. And so, yeah, that's what I'm looking for, and that's what I'm usually interviewing for, I would say, in the early stages of engagement with clients.
Mm. I love that. I've found myself coaching some of our new members on this idea that your money philosophy actually can become and translate into your process and what you prioritize. So what you just said there, consistency and longevity in savings is way more important than other things. And to lead with that clients are attracted to planners who have a perspective, right, on how money should work for them. Do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of times clients want to know what your process is. Something that they don't really typically ask is like, what do you do with your money, right? But I think that what's what's nice is when you then share with clients of like, hey, this is where I was, this is what I did, and here we are now. Sometimes that in and of itself will explain your own money philosophy. And a lot of it is too, like, I really want to be able to practice what I preach. And so if I'm telling you, like, you can take a leap, like you can afford to pivot from here, you can, or it's, oof, let's kind of come to a budget and not spend so much. It's like these are all things that I've had to do and have experienced myself, which is why I have these conversations with my clients a lot. And I always tell them, like, hey, your future self will thank you. I know it's not the easiest right now, but your future self will thank you.
Mm.
And that's the perspective to come at, versus, you know, how did I do on my returns? What did my investment portfolio give me? And I feel like I don't know what the market's going to do. I don't know what the economy's going to do. I don't know what world war we're going to go into next.
Oh,
So it's so hard to say, but what you can control, here are the things that you can control. Now let
mm,
me help you, guide you, coach you along the way. I think that's the biggest thing that I'll always encourage my clients to do.
great. I'm interested in your recent implementation of kind of this one page initial engagement. What prompted it to add that?
Yeah, so I've always done a one-page financial plan for my clients, mainly because um, when I'm like, how do I say this nicely? When I was in the Wirehouse world, you give people these 30, 40-page financial plans. And they don't really care all that much, nor do they understand what it says. And so I wanted to make something that was easy to understand, that didn't make my clients feel less than, because I think that's the other thing, right? Advisors will typically do this whole complex plan with all these graphs, because they want to, in some ways, show like, hey, look at all these pretty things I can do for you. But the reality is the clients are typically, depending what their goals are, it's like, okay, well, what does this all mean? Right? I've got X amount of money. And so what does this mean? I'm making this amount of money and I can save this much. So what does this mean? And I think that when you're able to then translate that in a one-page financial plan, saying, here are your goals. Here are some short-term goals. Here are some long-term goals. Here are the action items that that you shared with me, that what you would like to do. And I'm giving you step by step on what to do. And here is a snapshot of your net worth on this date. I think that's valuable, and it's simple. It's a one pager versus a big 30-page PDF presentation where they're having to skim through things. And so I think that it's something that I wanted, a takeaway that I wanted clients to have, to walk away from early on in the engagement.
Right. And then what is the conversion rate into the ongoing service after you deliver something as valuable as that one-page
Yeah.
plan?
Once I do the one page, my conversion is like 95%. It is
Oh,
very rare for me if I have done all of that initial onboarding for clients to then say, okay, no thanks, right? I think that
interesting.
it's very, very high, because we're doing a lot of work, right? They've divulged a lot of information, and I too have put in a lot of work and effort into this, and they kind of usually can get a sense of the way that I work, how I engage, how we interact, the kind of communication that we will have, and that's so important, early on. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, that conversion, as long as I probably follow that. Like that conversion is great.
So how does that conversation happen? It's we're going to work together for 3 to 4 weeks and then you're going to have an opportunity to continue. Do you give them that option as
Yeah.
clearly as that?
Yeah, I do. I actually say, like, the initial part is to do an initial assessment. Our
Wow.
first step is to do an initial assessment. This is where we'll get to understand and see, how we work. I will get a bigger picture of what you're looking for, and I'll assess to see whether or not it makes sense for us to move forward. You then too also have the opportunity to see how I work, if the information that you've received is valuable. And then once we do the initial assessment, at the end of that assessment is then when we'll have another conversation of whether or not we'd like to move forward,
Mm.
to a full comprehensive plan, or engagement, essentially planning engagement. And, clients are fully aware of that when they first come on. One of the things that I always tell prospective clients is, first of all, this is not something that you'll find, valuable in a year. Like, you're going to get the value of working with the planner 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line. And so, look, I encourage them to meet with others. And I'm always like, look for the ones that you trust, because if you can't trust them, then it's not going to work. Right. And so I'm always like, go ahead, talk to they always feel guilty. Like, oh, we're talking to a few other parents. I'm like, as you should, as you should. And so go and just know that this isn't something that you're going to get like an immediate, um, like benefit from, right? So that is something that I always tell prospective clients, like, just go ahead and do it. But here's what I provide, and then here's the steps. And do then say, when we engage, in a comprehensive financial planning, engagement, it is a 1-year commitment that I do ask clients, and it is an annual fee. So, you get to pay monthly, which most clients will do, but it is an annual fee. And so I kind of position it that way, and that's mainly so that clients don't feel like, oh, you have to do something on a monthly basis because I'm paying you monthly. No, no, this is an annual engagement, and I will meet with you as it makes sense. The onboarding process is on a monthly schedule, monthly cadence, every topic on a monthly cadence. That could go anywhere between 6 to 9 months. Once we finish onboarding, then we're on a quarterly cadence. Some clients are like, I don't need to talk to you every quarter. Like there's not that much. But
Right.
most of my clients, because they're in their 30s and 40s, life is changing so fast. They're getting married, they're having new kids, their jobs are changing, they're moving, you know, so they want to buy a house, right? Like, so they are always reaching out, and a quarterly cadence. By the quarterly time, they're like, oh my gosh, I have so much to tell you, you know. And so in some ways, I just feel like I really, really enjoy working with this group of clients more
Uh,
than, yeah, my old broker dealer clients.
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
You light up, and your clarity around it is just demonstrates your alignment. So kudos, Jennifer, on building a firm that works for you and your clients.
Oh, thanks. It's been a journey for sure.
I bet. It always has been a journey for folks. Let's talk about what I know the audience is very interested in hearing about, which is, where are your clients coming from? We can all decide how we want to serve clients, but it is a
Yeah.
way different story about how to get those clients. Start us kind of from day one. Where did your initial clients come from, and how have you maintained it?
Yeah. So, my initial clients, like everybody else, were my friends and family, right? I think that and because part of it is because I was doing this for so long, but I never marketed to my friends and family, mainly because I just didn't feel like it made sense for them.
Hmm.
And so once I launched, I had a lot of people that came to me, um, that were just like my circle of influence or my friends and such. And so that was the initial, right? And I think that's like with everybody. So that's day one, call it, for the first couple months. And then, believe it or not, XY, find an advisor. And I know that this comes to a surprise to a lot of folks, but I get a lot of my leads from XY and NAPFA.
Hmm.
I think that has been such a big source of leads. And, part of it is, I think XY does such a good job in marketing and and sharing your vision. And then you have the find an advisor, and then I'm in New York City, and so then that also helps. NAPFA is a little bit more under the radar, but still somehow I still get clients that way as well. And then I'm also just on the network for Fee Only Network, Wealth Tender, CFP board. And so like I kind of just dabbled into all of those. And that's kind of been my main source of leads. I don't market at all. And I have been very, very mindful of just asking for referrals. I think at one point I was like, oh, yeah, maybe I will. But I realized that, hey, if you just give clients good service, like you will get the referral. Like, and when I get them, I'm very mindful of acknowledging it, and I'm letting my clients know, like, hey, thank you so much for this referral. And I think that's just kind of my philosophy behind this, for now at least. And I think I'm okay with this cadence, because let's say then I do marketing, but I don't have capacity to take on 3-4 clients a month, and then everybody goes onto a wait list, and that's not a great experience, right? So I always think about, like, what is the experience that you would want clients to have? Like, what is the experience that you would want? How do I then translate that for clients? And you know I'm just not built right now to go, bringing on onboarding tons of clients. And so I am happy with that cadence of getting clients this way. And so it's been friends and family. They send me referrals. Why? Because they trust me. I do good work for them. Along the way, I get some leads from XY and NAPFA. And then I also, again, do good work for them. Why and how? Because I have space to, because I'm not so busy trying to onboard, right? And I'm able to then give them good service, and then I get referrals that way. And that's just kind of been the cadence. And I will also say, like, if it doesn't make sense, believe it or not, like, clients will respect you more if you're able to say no, and hey, let me find somebody else for you. right? There was a prospect recently where, yeah, they like, oh yeah, you worked at so and so, and I really was attracted to that, and I want to see if we could work together. And could I have done it? Yes, but I was like, but guess what? There's somebody else that I think could do a better job. There's something about that, and that the ability to say no and to give it away, that is empowering, gives you confidence, and it's courageous in some ways too, right? To be able to be like, it's okay, I'm not at my full capacity, but you're also not the right person for me. And that comes from a place of abundance, just knowing that there's enough for all of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Courageous came to mind as you were talking, and then you named it. That is very courageous, especially in your first 15 to 20 months to turn down a prospect. But it sounds like you have a beautiful way of doing it that actually earns you a stronger reputation long term and treats your existing clients even better by not being overwhelmed.
Right, right. And I think that's the thing we lose sight of, right? Because it's, you only have four clients. I remember the first 4 or 5 months, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could take on so many more people. But to be able to say like, hey, I'm really sorry, like it's not a good fit. Those are hard. Those are hard things to say, and hard decisions to make. But yeah, but guess what? Now I love all of my clients, and I am so glad that they chose me, and that I can help and serve them.
Mm,
So, yeah.
beautiful. What kind of clarity did you have going into this endeavor around how much you needed to make and by when? And what was that runway for you?
So funny. If I kind of think about this, I had a friend, and we kind of had the same mindset around business, and he had asked me, I was like, how much do you need to make, Jen? I was like, oh gosh, I don't know. I just want to like break even what I was making in corporate. And he's like, okay, well, great. Well, what's your client base like? Who do you want to work with? And I was like, I don't know, just who needs help? Isn't that kind of like how we always go into it? But to be able to back into it and saying, this is how much I need to make. Okay. This is how much it makes sense for me to bring on these clients. This is a proper amount of fee that I think is a reasonable amount to charge. And okay, now then how long will then that take me? Right. And I think that being able to back into those numbers, obviously you got to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room. I think that we always do this. We see it with our clients all the time, but it's like you spend more than you think you spend, you save less than you think you'll save, and you'll make less than you actually will project for yourself. Right. And so I think it's being able to give yourself some wiggle room there. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I did it. I backed into it being like, okay, how much do I need? What are my monthly expenses? All the things that I do for my clients, I did for myself. And then I was like, okay, now this is what I'll need to be able to go forward and do this.
Great. Great, great, great. What were and are some of your major expenses?
Um, right now, I will say XY is probably my biggest expense.
Mhm.
And rightly so, right? Like, I think that I get the most out of it. I get all of my compliance needs are pretty much met. But yeah, I think XY would probably be it. And then everything else, I do a lot of meeting with people. So most of them are virtual. So I spend a lot of um, my efforts on the technology and just trying to make sure that there's proper technology. But I really, really try hard not to get distracted with the cute, what is it called? Like pretty texts that are out there, because there's so many things that you can buy and add on. And so, but yeah, I think my biggest expense would be XY
Okay.
and business insurance. Yeah, so all of that is encompassed.
Sure. You have a beautiful website too. I'm wondering how'd you build it and how much you pay for it?
So when I said you want to be a good friend, you have good friends, you got to be a good friend. So I had a friend who was a graphic designer who actually built my website for me,
Beautiful.
and has been able to help me maintain it, and has taught me, small things here and there if I ever wanted to change anything. And so yeah, I mean, I do need to do a revamp, and I will soon. but the website and all of that, I just needed something that was going to be pretty basic, but did a lot of the heavy lifting. So most of my prospects, I always ask them when they schedule a meeting to make sure you take a look at my website if you haven't already, because it gives you an idea, or at least I try to help them paint them a picture of what it'll look like to be a client and what they can expect. And so, yeah. And then the photos, my brother took my photos with his professional camera. Like, he likes taking professional photos. And so I had him take my photos. And that was kind of it.
Great.
Yeah.
No, that's very helpful for our listeners, just to put some context around what it takes to get started. Um, I want to just jump back to kind of your sales process and how you foster that pipeline of yours. One of the hesitations and challenges that we hear from advisors a lot is just they're not confident in the value they provide, and they feel like they've got to flex on the technical expertise and show their prospects that they really know what they're talking about and things like that. But at nearly a $10,000 annual flat fee price point, I'm wondering, how do you demonstrate value just in those initial meetings outside of the referrals, which speaks volumes to your service? But how do you think you help a client make the decision of a $10,000 investment?
Yeah. I really think that you have to believe in it in order for you to get other people to believe in it, right? I genuinely believe, listen, I'm human, and I obviously have gone through my own struggles of imposter syndrome and feeling anxious around people who I feel like more competent, smarter, richer, whatever than me. But guess what? I still will know more than them. Right. And if you are in this space and you are a financial planner and you're looking to launch your own firm, that means, and you're a CFP, that means that, or you're at least on the trajectory of trying to get it,
Mhm.
you know more than the average person. And you have to believe that. The other part of it is, I'm in New York City, and so things are just more expensive here.
Mhm.
And so I think that I was able to take a look at, all right, where am I demographic geographically, who am I trying to serve demographically, and do I believe in this, right? If I make, I don't know, most of my clients are very well in their six figures, right? Like, if I make that kind of income and I have so much in excess cash at the end of the month, right? um, will I pay for services? And a lot of times, because of the kind of clients that I will bring on, they are the ones that are typically like, hey, I've done it by myself for X amount of years, and now life is getting complicated. I'm married, I have a kid, I don't have capacity to be doing this anymore. I'm going to
Mm.
outsource it because opportunity cost wise, it makes more sense for me to do really well at my job. I really want to spend the time with my kids, and I can outsource this. Cool, great, let me do that. And I think that that's, you kind of have to find those people, which is
Mm.
why it goes back to, who are you trying to serve? What are their needs? And does it make sense for them to pay that price? And I think that that's kind of how I don't really do anything outside. I don't do anything crazy. It's not like I use Right Capital for my planning software. Everything is templated on Google, on Gmail. I don't do anything fancy or pretty. Will I like to? Is that in the pipeline? Yes, at some point I would like to do that. But I realize that clients just need to know that, like, you understand what they're looking for and you can help them and you can deliver them. And if you can just somehow communicate to them that, hey, I know, I get it, and I can help you, um, they're willing. They're willing to pay, and just be honest and be yourself, which is again why I always tell prospective clients, interview, go scout,
Mhm.
talk to multiple planners, and if I'm a good fit, come back and let me know. You know, I've had multiple clients that, are like, okay, we'll get back to you, and then like months later, I'm like, oh, hi, oh yeah. okay, because they did whatever they needed to do to get to where they needed to get to. And that's okay. And I think to be able to just say that and have confidence in that and not feel like you're being sold to when you're sharing, your process and what you can offer. That's super helpful.
Great. I've got another question about that, but I just want to note for our listeners that a lot of folks do attract those do-it-yourselfers. And I loved the framing that Jennifer just made around the opportunity cost of outsourcing a service like this to be able to get the time back to
Yep.
spend time doing the things they really love and where their time is better spent. And that kind of framing could be very, very effective for do-it-yourselfers.
Yep.
Jennifer, as you send people off to interview other planners, and I just love that abundance mentality so much. Are you cultivating that relationship, or are you sending follow-up emails? Or are you really just sending them off and seeing them return when they're ready?
So I ask them, I will typically say, how would you like our next step to be? I can
Mm.
either send you a follow up email, I can follow up again in the next couple months, or you can. So, what would you like me to do? Right? I always send a follow up of like, hey, here were my services. Thank you for meeting with me. Just to give you a recap of what we spoke about. That is automatic. But I will then say, how would you then like me to proceed? And they'll tell you. They'll say, hey, this needs to get done. I need to know in the next couple months. I'll get back to you. Okay, then get back to me. Oh, they're like, I don't know. My life is crazy. Can you just, if you don't hear from me in 2 weeks, can you just come back to me? Sure. So that's kind of the approach. I don't really engage too much. And then I ask, because isn't that what we should do?
Isn't that what we should do? Yes. Yes, that's exactly what we should do.
And usually they'll give you the proper answer.
I hear so often from people, I just don't want to sound salesy. Well, how about we just be human instead?
Yeah, just ask. Like, how do you want me to engage? How would you like me to follow up with you? Do you even want me to follow up? And
Wow.
you know what? Just this is, you really have to believe in your product and in what you can offer, because that's the value, right? And if you believe, like, I can genuinely help you, okay, if you don't want my help, then you let it go. That's a different mindset from, I really want you. I need another client. That's a different mindset, right? And so, and people can feel it, sense it, smell it, whatever you want to call it, right? Like I really do believe that people can pick up on those vibes, as we would say.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jennifer, what have you been able to achieve personally that you didn't think you would as you entered into this?
Gosh. So, what have I been able to? Well, I am, it's amazing how your perspective on life changes. And I think that going into this, my heart was like, I really, really want to teach. I need people to know financial literacy. And not in the sense of like, what is a stock and bond, but no, like, how do you genuinely manage money? When you graduate college and you get a job, here is a paycheck, but then there are taxes. And then guess what? There are, like, those are real life things that I think nobody teaches much, right? Like, I didn't know how to manage that when I first graduated. And so, that was the heart behind it. And then I realized, hey, guess what? Because of um, it's my own firm and I can kind of have flexibility, maybe I should go back to school for this. So now I'm in school. I'm going to NYU to get my master's in financial planning so
Wow.
that I can eventually teach, yeah, practical personal finance for the general population. Yeah, so I think that that's something that I never thought that I would do, want to do, think I could ever do. Yeah, but here we are. And so, what an exciting time.
What an exciting time. Congratulations. What will that look like for you in the future?
I mean, I always want to practice what I preach, so I'm going to always keep the business. And I my capacity will either be that I meet capacity, and then if I want to grow more, I take on more clients. then I have to hire, right? If I want to take on more people, then I would eventually hire somebody to help me. I also believe that there's a part of me that I realize is that I don't life is just so much more fun doing it with people. And
Mm,
so I'm realizing more and more that I don't want to do this alone. And yes, I can have partners, but I would really love to do this with someone. And so that's kind of on the horizon of the next steps here. And then, yeah, I'll want to teach. I don't know where or how or who or what, but I'm going to just kind of leave it to post graduation and see what doors open and take it from there. But I think the business will just kind of steadily grow as it has been, and I'm okay with that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I trust it will. Let's go back to that conversation around you said you could get a partner, maybe you'll hire. What is your vision for JWK Financial?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to bring on another partner, right? So somebody who doesn't do what I do, so to speak, but can complement me in the business, but also sees my vision and is able to be better at certain things than I could ever be, right? And so that's kind of what I would ultimately like to have as a partner. I don't know if then bringing on another financial planner is in the future. I don't really plan for that right now, but who knows? I realize I can sit here and plan all I want. Life then has a funny way of um, doing what it wants to do. And so I think that that's kind of what I would like for the future of this, and then at least in the next 12 to 18 months.
Okay,
And alongside that, it is then to teach somehow.
great. Would that be an equity partner, or are you just using that term as a W-2 first hire? What are you thinking?
I would hope that the ultimate goal is to become an equity partner, right? And so that's why I would want somebody who sees the same vision and would want to grow in the same way. But yeah, it would be to be an equity partner.
Okay. What else do you have planned for the firm?
Oh gosh, I think that I'm starting to it's so funny. I have not dabbled in social media or any type of marketing or advertising or any of that nature. And I think I'm starting to feel more comfortable. So I think that that is something that I'm working on, TBD on what happens next. But that's something that I would like to start doing. And that's all I could share for now.
Yeah, that's fair. Is that comfort that you just mentioned in terms of your capacity that's prompting this?
Maddie, no, it's not. It's not even capacity. It's just my own fear of being in front of something, a camera, and I think that, as others can probably relate, is like, there's so many other people doing this. Like, what do I have to do? Like, what do I have to share here?
Hmm.
But I have a lot of great friends who are rooting and are wanting to help me. And I feel like now I don't have an excuse, is really where it comes down to. So, no, it's not about capacity.
Well, maybe this podcast is the first step towards that because, Jennifer, if I could blast your advice over and over and over on these airwaves, I would. And you do have so much to share. And I can absolutely see why your clients are deeply attracted to your advocacy and friendship and advice, but also why communities would be attracted to your leadership and philosophy.
Oh, thanks. That's nice of you to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, Jennifer, let's take the perspective of talking directly to the audience members for the final few minutes here of our
Mhm.
podcast. What would you say would be the biggest thing to iron out, kind of get secure on, make sure things are in place for before launching a firm?
So before I had launched, the advice that I was given was, why don't you go talk to people that are doing what you want to do? So find them, go look for them, right? And one of them that I spoke with, she said, and this was the best advice that she could have given me. She said, make sure you have enough runway for at least 18 to 24 months. And at the time, I was like, wait, that seems like so long. Like, I'll be able to, have enough, make enough for before that. And that's what you think because you're in a different mindset. But I think that that is something that I always will now share with prospective business owners that are wanting to come into this field or start their own business, is just have enough runway for two reasons. A, so that you're just not mentally stressed, like stressed about money, making bills, making ends meet. And then for two, so you don't take people that you don't need to be taking. Like, you take on your ideal clients. And the only way that you'll have, not the only way, but a big way that you'll have the confidence to do that is if you don't genuinely need it.
Mm.
And so I think that yeah, that's something that I will always encourage somebody to have buttoned up before they launch. And how do you do that? Well, you look at what your expenses are, and you multiply that, take into consideration any extraneous expenses, travel. Don't just look at your fixed expenses. Kind of do what you would do for a client. Miscellaneous costs are like the big buckets that we always skip. And have multiply that and have that for 18 to 24 months. If you are a conservative person, err on the side of 24 months. If you're like, nope, I think I can do it, I can handle it, I'm risky, then sure, go to 18 months. But it's kind of the same way we kind of give advice to clients, right? Emergency fund, 3 to 6 months. Where did we land? We decipher based on the security of their jobs. So small business owners, entrepreneurs, I'm always like 6 months. For W-2 employees, I'm like 3 months. Both of you guys are working, 3 months should suffice. So
Mm.
that's how I would look at it, and that's what I would absolutely encourage.
Great. And say someone is sitting more towards they're in the 6 to 12 months of runway, they want to get in another 6 months. What work ahead of time would you advise them to be focused on?
So I can only give right advice on like what I did, and I made sure that I was able to hit the ground running
Mm.
once I was live. So what does then that look like? Have your website ready to go. Make sure you're partnered with the right people. Understand the software that you're going to use. Know what you're going to do. A lot of this stuff, yes, you have to also, it goes with just kind of, it changes, right? As you do it. But the things that you can have some type of template of, okay, these will be how my meetings are going to go. Here are the things, how my services are going to be, what I will cover for these particular topics. Think about all those things and have that ready to go prior to launching, because I think you don't want to waste time once you're live. Like, you just want to be able to go. So
Yeah, great advice. Folks, if you're listening to this podcast, then you've gathered enough to-dos ahead of time to be able to hit the ground running. There is ample things to be focused on, and engaging in the XYPN community as you can, and coming to the conference and listening to podcasts like Jennifer's should be able to paint you a really, really full picture of the things you can be thinking about ahead of time. And there is nothing like being prepared as you enter into this incredible journey that Jennifer's just outlined for us. So, Jennifer, if there was one piece of advice you'd give to your former self before you launched this firm, what would it be?
Oh, you know, I just don't live life with regrets, and I truly believe that everything happens the way it was supposed to, you know. And so, wherever you are today, just be the best, try your best, do as great of a job that you can for whatever and whoever is in front of you, and be open. You know, just be open to whatever opportunities come your way after that, and you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised, and you'll surprise yourself. So,
Mm, beautiful. Jennifer, thank you so much for this incredible conversation. It is so nice to be back at XYPN Radio, and it is a total honor to have you as my first guest back for this portion of my time on XYPN Radio.
oh man, Maddie, I'm so glad to have you back, and thanks for interviewing me. And I'm so happy to be your debut.
Yay!
Thanks
All
so
right,
much.
listeners, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks so much, Jennifer. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.